Hello everyone, we hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the first video under InstaEthics, an initiative of Insights IAS. Now, in this video, we will be talking about just one term, that is ethics. Ethics is a term that all of you would have heard about in your life. Now, if I ask you where is the origin of the term ethics, some of you might be able to answer, most of you might not be able to answer. Let us first answer this question and then move on and try to define the term. Ethics, its origin or its root word is in a Greek term called as ethike. A Greek term called as ethike. And what does this ethike mean? It means study of habits. The key word over here is habits. There are certain habits that can create a positive environment for our growth. And there are certain habits which can pull us back. Habits such as honesty, compassion, charity will create happiness in us. Anger, cruelness. These are certain habits which will pull us back, which will create challenges for us, which will create anxiety, depression in us. Right? Ethike, when we use it from a Greek perspective, this is what it focuses on. And when we talk about habits and the character as such, there is a positive correlationship, which we will be discussing, which we will be exploring in ethics. Now, ethics is something which people have focused upon since a very, very long period of time. And this is something that is true even in Indian scenario. The term niti, okay, this is what is used in various Indian languages, be it Sanskrit, be it Hindi, and even in Kannada. And in Kannada, we call it as naitikate. As per this, what is the definition of niti in an Indian scenario? It means art of doing the right action. Right action, art of doing the right action at the right time and at the right place. Okay, here the keyword is right action. Something which will create good, not just for you, but also people around you. Now that we have understood the origin of the term, we've understood the literary, not the literary as such, the historical usage of the term ethics. In Indian scenario, do we have any books talking about ethics? We have Niti Sara, which was written by a disciple of Chanakya. We have Kat, Bharat. Sir karitidare. Then we have Action. Then we have Chanakya's Arthashastra, Panchatantra, which was written by Vishnu Sharma. All these things collectively talk about what are the ideals that an administrator should imbibe in himself and what are the ideals that an administrator should strive to achieve in the society. Right? These are just 3 literary texts. We have so many other literary texts which talk about ethics in detail. I will not focus on all of them now. Okay? Now, this is important. When I speak with UPSC aspirants and ask them what is ethics, they tend to give many definitions. In 20th century, there was one sociologist, American sociologist called as Raymond Baumhart. He asked a set of respondents what ethics meant, and all of them gave different answers. Some of them said ethics is nothing but a feeling of right or wrong. Few of them told ethics is equated with religious beliefs. Few more respondents told ethics is related to laws. If you are a law-abiding citizen, you are ethical. Few more people said ethics are behaviors that society accepts. And the last few respondents told ethics they have absolutely no idea about. These are the most smart people in that study. Let me just talk about all of these opinions expressed. Ethics is a feeling of right or wrong. It is only partially true because When we talk about a particular issue, our mind instinctively knows what is right or what is wrong. But if that rightness will create a feeling of pain in us, we rarely follow up on that. And some of the feelings that we have in our life might be based on prejudice as well. If a person has grown up in a family where women rights issues are not given prominence over, then that person will not be supporting women rights issue. Same is the case with the rights for lower caste section people in the society, right? So to say that ethics is a feeling of knowing what is right or wrong, it is not entirely accurate. Please avoid that. The second thing, ethics is associated with religious beliefs. This is also partially true. Because when you take up all religions, at their core, they talk about ethical conduct itself. Right faith, right conduct, right action, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and so many other teachings. But there are also certain religious beliefs which give justification to certain exploitative and discriminatory practices. This might be in the nature of slavery that existed in USA. Caste system, which was there in Indian society in ancient and medieval and which still exist in the present times, unfortunately. Right? To say that ethics is religious belief is not entirely accurate, my friends. So try to avoid that in your answers. The other thing, laws. This is also partially true because we might have laws in our country or in our society which might not be entirely ethical in nature. When Gandhiji went to South Africa on a professional business, he was brought to a lot of disappointment when he saw how the laws in South Africa discriminated against the laborers who moved from India. He protested against those laws. Gandhiji did the same thing in India as well, is it not? Salt Satyagraha. There was a law which imposed tax on a very basic commodity such as salt. If you follow this law, if you look at this law objectively, it is not a good law, it is a bad law. And Gandhiji protested against it. To say that being ethical, to be ethical, you need to be lawful, that is absolutely wrong. Laws need to be ethical. That is right though. Okay? We'll talk about that relationship at a later point. The other thing, behavior, ethics are a set of behavior that society accepts. It's not just any behavior, is it not? Because when we talk about the ancient and medieval times, you know that caste system existed. Behaviors related to caste was accepted by the society as such, but those behaviors are no longer accepted. To say that behavior that society accepts, any behavior, that is absolutely wrong. That is only partially correct. So please avoid that. In your definitions, don't make the mistakes of using this view or this perception of ethics. The other thing, ethics. What ethics is? Many respondents said they had no idea. This is kind of true, is it not? Because you take up any leader, reformer or philosopher and you ask them what is ethics, all of them will give you a different answer. Ethics at the end of the day can be a bit subjective. So is it completely difficult to define ethics? Absolutely not. From the exam's perspective, from our understanding perspective, remember two important things. Ethics are well-founded standards of right and wrong. Well-founded standards of right and wrong, which is not true in any one society. It is true in all other societies as well across the world. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, right to life, right to personal liberty, dignified life, all these things. All of them are considered as well-founded standards of right and wrong. The other thing that is important when you are defining ethics or understanding ethics is not static, my friends. Ethics is dynamic in nature. There is a continuous effort in terms of introspection. Couple of years ago, we believed Section 377 was right. And this Section 377, all of you know, it criminalized homosexuality. But the courts went into that question. They finally decriminalized it. They said that Section 377 was against Article 21, that is, right to life and personal liberty. Ethics is dynamic. You're consistently and constantly introspecting what is right, what is wrong, how should I improve myself better, right? These two dimensions are at the core of understanding ethics as a discipline. Whatever decisions that we take, we need to look at them from this perspective. On a daily basis, 35,000 decisions happen in a single person. There was a study which was conducted and it spoke about that. Ethics as a branch of philosophy, it focuses not on the number of the decision, but rather on the quality of the decision. One more definition for you. I've given few more definitions that you can use from your exam perspective. I'll just read them out to you. Ethics is a code of values which guide our choices and actions and determine the purpose and course of our lives. Ethics can decide where we are going, whether we will be successful, whether we will realize progress or we will be regressive in nature. What is the other definition? Ethics is the discipline that examines one moral standard and moral standards of society. It asks how those standards apply to our life and whether these standards are reasonable or unreasonable. That continuous state of introspection that I was speaking about. Ethics, one more, the last definition. Ethics is a conception of right and wrong conduct. Ethics tells us our behavior is moral or not. Ethics deal with fundamental human relationship, how we think and behave towards others, and how we want them to think and behave towards us. If I have to concise that, okay, all of us, you have come across this one very important phrase, treat others as you want others to treat you. It basically means that, nothing more than that. Okay, right. Now, till now, we have discussed ethics and I've used terms such as values, principles and moral in some of the definitions in a very synonymous manner. But that is not entirely accurate. Ethics is a very broad term. It has various tools and these tools could be values, principles, norms, beliefs, laws and morals. Each of these tools have some similarity with ethics and more importantly, they have certain differences as well. Ethics and its difference between morals, ethics, its difference and similarity with values, all these things we will look at it in the next few set of videos. All right? Why should we be ethical? Ethics create an order. If we have a society where people are doing what they want, people steal because they want, because it gives them happiness, there will be chaos in society. No meaningful life can happen. Ethics prevents such chaos. The other thing, ethics is progressive in nature. When we have a society where good behavior, good conduct is encouraged, incentivized, then we will not have issues such as corruption. When there is no corruption, there is a lot more probability that the country will grow in an inclusive manner. All right? The other thing, it minimizes inequalities. No two persons on this planet are alike in nature in every other way. We have economic inequality, we have gender inequality. All those inequalities could be met in a much better manner when people have compassion, when people have sympathy and empathy for those who have not been gifted with the minimum standards which are required to lead a dignified life. The other thing, ethics creates happiness in us. In the beginning, I told you our conscious knows what is right or wrong instinctively, but we don't usually follow upon that. When we don't follow upon that, there is guilty feeling in our mind, there is anxiety, there is depression. But when we have that consonance or similarity between our conscience and our behavior, there is happiness in us. Ethics creates happiness. When you are ethical in nature, you tend to enjoy positive relationship with people around you. And that is good as well, is it not? You will be happy in your life, both personally as well as professionally. The other thing, Ethics for an administrator, why it is important. I have given the examples of Ashok Kemkar, Durga Shakti Nagpal, E. Sridharan. When a person or an administrator is ethical, the values enshrined in our constitution, equality, liberty, fraternity, justice, all of them could be followed. If an administrator is not ethical, all of these values, it is very difficult to follow them. We will have a lot of corruption. People will not have trust on the bureaucracy. When they don't have trust, it reflects in the falling standards of democracy as well. Democracy as such might be threatened. This is the reason why UPSC wants you to learn ethics. It just does not want you to become rank one in terms of your aptitude, skills, and all such kind of things. It wants you to be ethical in nature. When you're put in a situation where you are to choose amongst various actions, you need to have that skill of going for an action which gives or which creates the maximum amount of goodness for the collective welfare of society. Okay? Right. Now, I've just given some of the names of people and policies which are ethical in nature. Ashoka with his Dhamma principles, Abraham Lincoln, who was known for his honesty, Mahatma Gandhiji and Nelson Mandela, who were known for their honesty, non-violence, Buddha, Mahavira, Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, our Vedanta philosophy, which talk about tolerance, compassion, and love for all. The preamble, where we find ethical values such as liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. Ethical policies that we have in our governance system, such as right to information, okay, citizens charter. In recent times, what some of the decisions taken by Indian government which are ethical in nature, for example, Vaccine Maitri, where we are distributing vaccines at free of cost to those countries which cannot afford them. Also, ban on wheat export to prevent speculators from using Indian wheat and preventing that wheat to be distributed to the poorest countries in the world. Right? These are just some examples of ethics. Now, this was important. I told you what is the importance of ethics, and I gave you quite a few dimensions and tried to connect it with an example. In your 2016 UPSC ethics paper, there was one question which was asked. And in this question, they had asked you, explain how ethics contributes to social and human well-being. Okay? How it creates progress for society, how it creates progress for an individual. I've given you some examples, is it not? Social minimizes inequalities. Keep these few dimensions in mind and write an answer. In the next video that we will be discussing, I will give a brief framework along with examples for this question. I hope you can answer this question because it is quite straightforward and it is something that we discussed. We hope that this video was useful for you. Thank you for your time. Please take care of yourself.